Do we really have to wear these? Like, I don't really want to
Okay,
wear
fine.
this.
We don't wear them. Hey everyone, we are living in a time of self-isolation. We're living in tight quarters, and so relationship conflict is going to naturally be on the rise.
Definitely.
That means we're going to have to be extra diligent about nurturing and protecting our family relationships, and in particular, our marriage relationships.
Yeah.
I'm Tim Barnett, and this is my wife.
Stacy.
And we are the marrieds pastors at Cedarview Community Church. And we thought it would be helpful if we put together a married study, a weekly study that we're calling Marriage Under Quarantine. Okay, that sounds pretty cool, right? And so we're going to be looking at, our hope is that we're going to give you some tools that will help you stay strong in your marriages through this difficult and really unprecedented time. So in this first session, we thought it would be cool if we talked about being a hero at home. So I have a question for you, Stacy.
Okay.
I'm just going to throw it at you. What kind of attributes do you think of when you hear the word hero?
Definitely courage.
Yeah.
Strength. Humility. Compassion. Definitely self-sacrifice.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to give you 5 gold stars for that because those are the right answers. Those are the kind of attributes we think of when we think of hero. We think of heroes in movies and comic books. I love the Marvel comics, and you know that, right?
I do.
And so she's put up with watching all the Marvel movies.
All of them.
And one of my favorite movies is Endgame. And at the end, this is a spoiler, okay? You have Iron Man, who's this, hero figure, courageous. He doesn't have any supernatural powers. He's just a smart guy with cool tech. And at the end, it's Iron Man who saves the universe. Okay, gives his life to save the universe. And so we see a hero there. Definitely. But we don't just see heroes in movies. We see real life heroes. Can you give an example?
Well, for sure, the nurses and doctors who are putting their life on the line, putting themselves in harm's way of being infected right now.
Yeah.
And even grocery store workers, all these essential workers
that can be exposed to the virus. And of course, this is a virus that is serious. It is hurting people and killing people. And so we're so grateful for those people who are in those positions, who are continuing to do their jobs.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so here we have heroes in fiction, heroes in real life. And of course, as Christians, I mean, when we think of a hero, we think of Jesus Christ. We think of him giving his life on the cross on our behalf. And of course, there's numerous examples from Scripture where we see Jesus displaying these heroic attributes. We see, for example, in Matthew 26, Jesus is in the Garden of Gethsemane. He's praying with his disciples. And we see him there say to the Father, he says, "Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as you will." And so even under agony, Christ puts his bride before his own self-interest. And so there we see a hero.
Yeah.
What about, I'm thinking also Romans, right?
Yeah, Romans chapter 5, verse 8. It says that God shows his love, that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us.
That's right. And so not just for his friends, this is a sacrifice for even his enemies, even those who were nailing him to a cross. Christ died for them. So Christ is our role model. He is an example for us as husband and wife, as a heroic spouse. We see this in particular in Paul's letter to the Ephesians. And Paul there, Ephesians chapter 5, where we have this famous marriage passage, he says, "Husbands, love your wives, just as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her."
Praise God.
Yeah. Now, there is another passage that I'm thinking about. You mentioned one of the attributes. You said humility.
Yeah.
And heroes are humble. And we see this displayed in Philippians chapter 2. This is kind of a longer passage, but I think it is an important passage in what we're talking about here. And so let me read this. This is Philippians chapter 2, starting at verse 3. It says, "Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourself, not looking to your own interests, but each of you to the interests of the other." It says, "In your relationships with one another, have the same mindset as Christ Jesus." Okay, so he's the example. "Who being in the very nature God, did not count equality with God a thing, something to be used to his own advantage. Rather, he made himself nothing by taking the very nature of a servant, being made in human likeness, and being found in the appearance of a man. He humbled," there's that word again, "humbled himself by becoming obedient to death, even death on a cross." And so there we have an example of this concept that we've been talking about, a hero, courageous, not self-centered, but giving himself, and then of course humble. And so every marriage needs a hero.
2 heroes.
Every marriage needs 2 heroes. A spouse who is willing to sacrifice him or herself, their temporal happiness for the good of the marriage relationship.
So important.
Yeah. And so what we were thinking was, well, let's make this real practical. Each of us, I think, has the opportunity daily to act as the hero in the relationship, to do what is right and to not do what is wrong in the marriage. Okay. And so instead of being self-centered, we are going to die to self. And so what does that look like? What are some practical ways that we can put our spouses ahead of ourselves? That's what Philippians is talking about. Put them ahead of ourselves, their own interests ahead of ours. So what are some ways we can do that?
Well, first, I think, especially in a time like this, we really need to reset our expectations. We are living in a time where life has changed. Life is currently not as it has always been. So we can't expect our spouse to act exactly the same way or desire exactly the same things. So we have to really revisit that and reassess.
Our world has totally changed, and I don't know if it's going to go back to the way it used to be. And so work life, family life, church life, I mean, we can't even go to church. All these things have changed, and so we have to change our expectations. Another expectation is just personal space and boundaries, right? We're now in these tight quarters, and so there's times when you just can't get away from each other.
Tell me about it.
And so we need to be mindful of that. There's a new expectation here, right?
Oh yeah.
Where I may not get all that personal me time that I used to have. And so I think it's still important. We still need to make time, but it may be a different expectation. What's another one?
Conversations. I've noticed that I don't have as much to tell you. I want to tell you things that you were there for. That you witnessed. So that's been an adjustment for us, definitely.
Sure. It's like we're together all day, and so there isn't anything new to share, right?
I know.
we kind of talk to each other all day. So when it comes time to dinner, sit down for dinner, it's not, what did you do today? Well, I was with you all day, that kind of thing.
And we're especially used to you being gone for a few days every week. So,
so there's a new expectation,
Definitely.
There may be times where, hey, we've talked a lot today. Maybe let's just, let's pull up books and let's read. And so maybe a different expectation, maybe, some silence or something, where you can just, that's okay. Here's one. Because you and I love to go on dates with each other.
I do.
And this is killing me because we can't go out on dates right now.
Can't go to a restaurant.
Well, we can't go to the things that we used to do. We can't go to restaurants.
And our children are always here.
We can't go to sporting events. We can't, all these things that we used to do, we can't do. And so dates are going to have to look different. They're going to change. And by the way, okay, we're going to help you with that. What we're going to do is once a week, we're going to post a quarantine date idea, okay, where you don't have to leave the house. No. Or maybe if you do leave the house, it could be go for a drive, with each other and this kind of thing. But we're going to come up with some ideas that you and your spouse can do and have maybe a romantic or intimate time together. And so hopefully that will be helpful for you. I know that we're looking forward to doing some of those things. Yeah,
it's so important to maintain that intimacy, even in the midst of this chaos and
social distancing.
Yeah.
Okay.
You don't have to social distance from your spouse.
Yeah. Okay. So we talked about resetting expectations. If you want to be a hero in your marriage or in your home, here's something you need to do through this whole isolation, quarantine.
And this might be the most important one.
It might, yeah, for sure. And this is assume the best about your spouse. Don't assume that they're just trying to annoy you, okay? Because we're already talking to families who are, at each other's throats because they're just, it's just you're living in tight quarters, and this is not always easy. And so you start to get annoyed and you start to get on each other's nerves. Don't assume that the person is trying to do that. Okay. So you have a example of this.
And I love you dearly. And you were never great at putting away dishes
to begin with.
No, I mean, like, he'll use them and put them in the sink, which is great.
Yeah, I don't leave them out, okay? I'm not a complete slob, but I normally put them usually in the sink, not directly in the dishwasher. So go on. And
so now that you're home more often, generating more of those dishes, the sink fills up sooner. And and so I'm putting more dishes into the dishwasher, which, can be frustrating at times.
But you're not assuming that I'm doing it just to tick you off.
No, I know that isn't. I think you actually put them in the sink trying to be helpful.
There you go.
I do. I think that's what it is. Now, it's not, but I think that's what you're trying to do.
So what we're doing is we're assuming the best about the person, okay? And I'm not trying to get on her nerves, and so this is helpful, okay? This is just a mindset shift. It's a perspective change. Here's another idea. You want to be a hero? Volunteer to do something that is thoughtful for your spouse. Okay, what can I do that's going to be thoughtful, that I'm not looking for a thank you in response. I just want to do this and because I love that other person. Okay. And so what are some ideas there that we could, someone could do something thoughtful?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of people are making lunches and dinners, so maybe switch that up. You make a dinner for your spouse or for the family. Or if that person loves to cook, clean up for them so they don't have to do that. I would love that more often. Yeah. Wink, wink.
There you go. I'm getting ideas. Okay. And so do these kind of thoughtful, spur of the moment, I'm going to do this. So we looked at, laundry, cleaning, make a meal. I did this the other day. So Stacey had made this delicious meal.
And I wasn't insulted.
And I said, honey, she had, done all this. I wanted to do the dishes. So I said, you know what? Take a hike.
You know what? Take a hike.
You know what? Take a hike. Okay. Now, I didn't mean like in a bad way. I mean literally, like go for a walk. No kids. Just get away from us. Now, she didn't actually want to do that. That's fine. So you didn't have, did we all go for a walk?
We all went.
Yeah.
Because I wanted that instead.
Okay. So we all end up going for a walk. But the intent there was, look, I will clean up all the dishes. Don't even worry about this. Just go have some of your own time. Because I knew she had been with the kids. Now we're kind of homeschooling. And she's doing the vast majority of that. And so I was just thinking, get away from the kids for, half an hour or so, go for a walk. So that's another idea. Okay. So, here's another one. And this is one that we, use with our kids, actually. We were talking about it at the dinner table today. How about, if you want to be a hero, use kind words and your manners, okay, in the home. Again, we want to avoid these conflicts, this tension. And so just offering kind words, and using please and thank yous,
It goes a long
that it does.
way.
It's such a simple thing. But
especially when tensions are high or you're stressed because of this new chaotic, unexpected change. Like these, nobody planned for this. Nobody anticipated this, and it's out of nowhere. So we're all just coping.
So here's an example. This just came to me today. You told me that I smelled nice.
I did.
So I mean, we're all quarantined, and I thought I put on cologne this morning. I knew I wasn't going anywhere, but I was going to be here, and she was going to have to smell me. So I put on some of my cologne, and she came over, and she's like, "Hey, you smell nice. Are you wearing cologne?" And so it was just like that made me feel good. Okay, that she recognized that, and I was, trying to do something special. So there you go. Okay, how about here's another one.
We forgot about looking for ways to encourage your spouse.
Yeah.
Like to build them up.
Sure.
Just to make life together more enjoyable.
Yeah. So we add that to the list. So what about this one? This is also hugely important. And a lot of couples don't do this. Initiate times where you're praying with your spouse. Okay, don't wait for the other person to initiate. Take it upon yourself to say, look, we need to pray together. And there is no shortage of things that we should be praying as couples together about. And so from the coronavirus and what's going on, how it's affecting people, their livelihoods, the economy. Of course, these are big scale things that we can be praying about. And then of course there's family things. Pray about your spouse.
And pray for your relationship.
For your relationship through this time.
For ways to help you find those encouraging words, or to use your manners, or for ideas for what your spouse, like wisdom for what your spouse might find helpful.
So if you're looking for a place to start on this, then we're gonna post a list of prayer ideas. And maybe we'll do that in the comments, and we'll just give you some ideas of where to start. And it's just, again, this is just get in the habit, and it will become easier. These are just a few of the things that you can be doing to nurture and protect your marriage through this period of chaos, through this pandemic. Husbands, wives, this week, look for ways to be a hero in your home. That's what we're asking.
And we would love to be praying for you. So if you have a prayer request, please, you can leave it in the comments of this post, or you can send us a direct message if you're uncomfortable with that. And we would just love to be praying for you.
Absolutely. And so we're looking forward to talking to you again next week. We really hope this is helpful. God bless you guys.